thanks everybody for your patience. We were off the air as far as doing monthly webinars since our last one in April. In April, we had a very interesting situation come up, and that was a 75-year-old franchisee announced he wanted to retire. And there's a requirement that he inform the franchisor, who happens to be my brother Ray. And he was a very, very successful hothead franchisor. And we got the option to acquire that business. Today, we're going to talk about what has come about from that. But suffice to say, we were very busy, and this allowed us to deliver on our promise to get to, originally our goal was to get to 10 locations under management, building on our first 4 and get to 10. And that was for 2021. Now we actually have 11 locations under management. We'll talk about what that means and how that works. So we're going to talk about that transaction, which was too big for us. It was a $2.8 million transaction. We had not raised enough capital to handle it on our own as Tasty Equity. Our banker said, go find yourself a partner. And they actually, in the end, required that essentially Pete and I, along with the 2 partners that we secured, we locked down that transaction and we acquired those restaurants personally. We are working on arrangements to do just like we did with our first 4 restaurants, where each of our 4 restaurants we funded personally and in cooperation with my son at the time as the franchisor and the borrower on the loans. And then we worked out a way to grant equity or sell equity in exchange for value back to the Tasty Equity public business. So today, Tasty Equity holds equity in our first 4 restaurants. We have a management contract with those 4. We have a management contract with the 7 new ones. And we have arrangements pending whereby Pete and I will each have a transaction that conveys 5% of our shares back to the Tasty Equity audience, locked in at the price from last summer. So if this takes 6 months and there are some legal issues we have to work out, the technical and legal, complicated by the fact that we are a public company with more than 2,000 shareholders, and there is some special involvement with the franchisor with those 7 stores. And one of our lawyers said we might have to disclose 2,000 people. We kind of want to avoid that. So we're going to work it out one way or another. It is a huge upside win. But today I'm going to talk about those new 11 locations, or the new 7 locations and the total of 11 under management, how that is now guiding our development plans for the next year. We're going to talk about winning by the numbers. This has been the most bizarre 24 months of my adult life, period. But in the restaurant business, we've never seen anything like this. So we're going to talk about how the sales swooned up and down, and employees were nightmares, and so many people went on unemployment and wouldn't work, and how our stores were burning up overtime for the few people who would work, working 70 and 80 hours a week to keep the doors open. And along came the CARES Act relief program. So you might remember CARES Act had to do with the paycheck protection programs. It has to do with the economic injury disaster loans. Well, there's a couple more permutations of the program and an extension of the EIDL loan, and it is an astounding amount of money. I know I'm spending a lot of time on this first slide. I want you guys to know it's been a busy 4 months. We have been working dawn to dusk, and we did, in fact, I'll talk about getting that acquisition done and getting those stores operational and start to turn around a couple of them that were not well performers. And then we're going to wrap up by talking about our focus and our total focus on our next 10 restaurant locations. And we're going to strictly focus on the I-80, I-90 corridor, really running from left to right, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. I'll show you that in pictures, and we'll keep on going. So you've seen this slide. If you've been with us for a while, we've talked about our 3-year plan to build 10 restaurants per year. In this case, we didn't build them. They fell in our lap. The retiring franchisee had 7 stores. He wanted out. He wanted out now. It was a scramble to put the transaction together. Again, as I said, we worked with 2 outside equity partners to make the deal possible because it was larger than we were prepared to do at Tasty Equity by ourselves. Our bankers loved us, but said, no, you kids need help. But that takes us to now in 2021, and the year's not over yet. We have 9 Hothead Burritos restaurants under management. That we run the payroll, we run the books, we run the money, we are the treasurer, we are the president. We do everything to operate these businesses. In our original 4 locations, we have substantial equity. In the 7 new locations, as I described a moment ago, it's going to take a few months for us to work out some prerequisites by which Pete and I will grant equity or transfer or for consideration. But think of it as a stock option locked in at the transaction price of the business that we acquired, so that our tasty equity investors will eventually have ownership in the 7 stores. Right now, we have the benefit of the fee income and the management team, which gives us literally, I'll talk about it in a minute, a bunch of managers in vehicles, in company cars, covering this area from across northern Ohio. So we are really super excited to say, look, we delivered on the promise. We beat our plan. We didn't do it exactly the way we thought it would happen, but that's how it is in business development. But we got to 11 restaurants under management. We're super proud of that. So I'd like you to meet our new 7 locations. These are spread around the Youngstown area in general. One of them is closer to the border with Pennsylvania. It's literally Hermitage, Pennsylvania. And 2 of them are up in the suburban areas of Cleveland called Strongsville and Brunswick. Very high-end, high-density retail, high traffic count, very competitive markets. Our stores that we've acquired that we're taking under management, acquired by the partnership, they were all up to Hothead standards. They even have beautiful cushy booths. We did not do cushy booths in our stores, but they're all remodeled. They're up to brand standard. But the only thing they don't have that we have is they stuck to the traditional printed menu boards. We went all digital in our remodels, and they don't have Pepsi Spires yet because there's some controversy about whether people really like Pepsi Spires. I'd be interested to hear from our audience. Do you really like a Pepsi Spire machine where you can have 144 flavors, or do you just want Mountain Dew? So these are our 7 new locations. You're going to see lots of ads and film. Milos from our Red Tail media team is starting to rotate the pictures and the videos of these stores. And we are looking forward to, as COVID passes, knock on wood, please. I mean, we literally just had an employee die on a ventilator this week. People have got to take it seriously. If we can just get past the risk, and all the experts think it's going to pass in October, November, it'll just burn out. Hopefully it will. Then we want to restart our monthly investor appreciation night, VIP night events, and we will rotate them through our restaurants, including these 7 locations, as well as our original 4. So as part of our delivering on the promise and expanding to get control of these 7 restaurants, excuse me, I'm giving you a rendering on a map. I want you to be comfortable. This is not some random purchase. This is Northern Ohio. So these stores spread all the way over to rights to Pittsburg. We can develop anything from Pittsburg to Youngstown, Canton, Akron, Cuyahoga Falls, Cleveland. And of those areas, we've already marked towns like Cuyahoga Falls, Akron, Worcester, Manfield, where we may put more. Those are candidates for the next 10 stores. Now that is a complement with our footprint, which, don't forget, our first 4 stores, again, that's where the equity came from that started the business. Our 4 stores sit over here on the left in the the northwestern part of Ohio, and they kind of run up the I-75 corridor from Lima to Bowling Green, and we planned to build a store in Findlay, but we got disrupted by COVID. We have 2 stores in Toledo suburbs, and we have locations we're looking at from Livonia to Ann Arbor to Taylor to Dearborn, right? All working kind of, I'm calling this the extended corridor up to Detroit, but this is our footprint. We literally have 2 supervisors and a VP of operations over in the Northeast Ohio locations, run around in company vehicles, training, developing, and hiring. And Brandon, bless his heart, is our area supervisor, run around a company car here, backed up by Ned, who's also in a company rig, to give him a little air cover and a day off now and then. But this is our development footprint. If you have ideas about locations, we are going to stay laser focused in this area unless it's some ridiculously good opportunity. But we want to pick locations as quickly as possible. We have 10 cities identified. We have a very, very data-driven process I'll talk about in a minute. But this is think of this as narrowing our scope. For the last 6 months, we've talked about how we can go anywhere there's an area developer, that all those gold states that have rapid fire and hothead area developers, they all want us to come help with our money that we're raising and with our development capabilities. Well, we've decided, and part of the condition within our discussion with the franchisor and our rights that we're getting with these stores, we are going to lock and load right in this area. We're going to stick to Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. We're going to try to get our 10 sites selected. Now, it takes time. I would be thrilled if we could get 2 locations under letter of intent by December, and it's barely October, right? We're going into the holiday season. A lot of stuff happens. But if we can get a couple locations under letter of intent every other month, then by midsummer, we could really have 10 locations moving through the development process. Now, we're going to back that up by doing something that's worked very well for Ray and Kelly at the franchisor level, and they do it old school. They choose the city they want to go into. They just did this in 3 cities in the deep suburbs of Dayton that didn't have a hothead. They put up a billboard. And, this happened to be in Indiana, this particular billboard. So they chose the city in cooperation with the area developer. They pay for the billboards. These billboards generate inquiries from franchisees. And from this, we have flexibility and optionality. We may find a franchisee that can just do it all by themselves, and we perform in our area developer responsibility, help them build a restaurant, earn our royalties. That's part of our gig. If it's a franchisee who's not quite financially qualified, excuse me, but is operationally qualified, well, by goodness, that's a perfect joint venture opportunity for us to fund the down payment, some or all of it, or maybe split the down payment with one of our institutional high net worth investors and get that guy in business on a 3-year plan and a 3-store plan. We need strong backs, committed, young, willing to work hard, be on call 7 day a week operators, just like the people who are running our restaurants. And we also see an opportunity for a couple of the people in our current management team to become the franchisee, not leave their day job with us, but become the franchisee for select locations that are within their geographic footprint. We're going to get it done. Now, all of this happens with the wind at our back. I'm looking at the clock. I'm running way over. But this is all with the wind at our back. If you guys, anybody watches, CNBC in the morning like I do, because I can't stand politics. I just want to see the business channel. Chipotle, quarter over quarter, is just peeling the cover off the ball. Their stock is like $2,000 a share now. It's ridiculous. Other public fast casual restaurant brands are all outperforming, as they call it, in the stock market. They're beating on profits. They're beating on sales. And here's the thing. You can't go out and franchise some of those other brands. Chipotle are all company owned. We are in this because they created a market. We are coming in with what we believe is a more fun concept with more variety, dozens of custom sauces, different products that we pioneered the concept of the toasted burritos and tacos and bowls. And we're doing it with the wind at our back because TechNavio says with all this liquidity in the market that the sheer volume of development in fast casual that the market will support is doubling. And we want to ride that wave. We've even seen recent announcements from brands that stalled out, like Blaze Pizza, which slowed down and even closed some restaurants during COVID. And the CEO came back out and said they've doubled up their capitalization. They're going to open another 300 restaurants in the next 5 years. So we want to ride the wave. It's all about building stores. Our Hothead Burrito stores and our teams have hung in there with us. The Hothead Burritos in general did as well or better during COVID as they did in 2019. And now in 2021, we're beating our COVID numbers. It's all about the crews and the teams. We've introduced a whole wave of benefits I talked about in prior events, 401ks, medical benefits of 2 different types, so for affordability for part-time versus full-time people, instant payday functionality, just really cool stuff to protect our team members. And our Northwest Ohio 4 stores, the original 4 stores, the 2 rapid fires, 2 hotheads, literally for the summer, we were up 109%. And I'm citing the summer because that's since our last webinar. We're up 109% combined across those stores. The only reason we had a dip here, again, we voluntarily closed all the restaurants for 4th of July because everybody needed a day off. Our rapid fires are snapping back. The traffic counts are up. The masks are off, although they had to go back on again, depending on where you are. But the group parties are back. The fundraisers are back. It is just all coming back to life. Our number one challenge is hiring. That crew that you see in that picture is what got down to like 7 personnel at that restaurant. We just lost 2 managers 2 hours ago at that restaurant. They got poached by other competitors. This is a war for employees. I spend 1/3 of my day dealing with our efficient hire application platform, job posting platform, and the Indeed advertising people. There have been weeks where we are spending more money on job advertising than we are on food advertising. Thank goodness, if you remember that slide a few minutes ago, the CARES Act is providing excess disaster relief funding because they know we're dealing with massive external costs, supply chain cost problems, overtime cost problems. And by some miracle, the government was fortuitous enough to design those programs, and we are taking advantage of them. Our Northwest Ohio 4 held their own even back during COVID. They were slightly below the results from 2019, but they held it together. We stayed in business. As a result, we protected our employees and we earned the employee retention tax credits. Literally, our 4 restaurants will not pay any federal taxes for that elapsed time because the tax credits were so large. We're going to receive somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000 just for the last 2 quarters of 2020. And it appears we're eligible for that money again because we've held on to our employees and taken care of them. We could get another 6 figures of relief funds. Now, if you think this is excessive, none of this money goes into our pockets. Pete and I, as owners, have not received a nickel of income out of these restaurants in 24 months, right? We are owners. We own other businesses. We're investing from businesses like my other businesses in the mortgage industry. Pete's the chief technology and chief marketing officer for the franchise brands. We are investing alongside you. Our time, I've been writing checks to fund things that need to get funded. I just want you to know that while the stores were down, we're not taking salaries. We're not taking money out. And all those government programs are funding our payroll, funding our PPE, funding our overtime, funding our remodels. They are not going into the owner's pockets. So we are right there, pari passu, as they say, with you as our investors. We are looking for breakout opportunity as we get to first quarter of 2022, when we think the hiring will settle down. We'll have a big keel of cash reserve from all the COVID and CARES Act money, and that will allow the banks to become very confident in funding more restaurants with us because we're one of the survivors. High five to everybody on the team. Thanks for all our 2,000 plus investors and your confidence in us. That said, the Northeast Ohio stores had some mixed results, and I'll share a little bit about them because this is about the numbers. 4 of them were up 104%. 3 of them were down 93% just this summer. We assumed control on June 1, so I'm showing you June to August. I want to show you that we made a difference. We took, of the 7 stores, 3 were barely doing 8,000 or 9,000 a week. A normal store for us is about 15,000. A super performer is 25,000 a week. We have a couple super performers in the Cleveland store set, but we have 3 dogs, as we call them, $8,000 or $9,000 a week stores. Well, guess what? We put resources behind the existing supervisors. We help them realize some ideas that the older retiring management never embraced. We added some digital technology, the digital job advertising, went hard on Facebook and social media, and we lifted those stores. So two of them in July to August are up 109%. And then we took the third store that literally had the entire crew rated. The general manager got a job and recruited the assistant and shift leader to go with them, along with the crew member. And the store basically closed one day. I don't think it actually got the doors closed before Morrow and Eddie and Jackie drove up there and manned the front lines. So our management team was in there schlepping food, making burritos, cleaning floors, doing caterings. We were able to hire a just awesome manager from a long time, and he'd had some Chipotle experience. He'd been in an ice cream chain. He was strapped and with nowhere to grow up. And Rob joined us, and we have turned around that Strongsville location. Anybody in the Cleveland market, hope you come see Rob in Strongsville, or Sammy and Jimmy over in Brunswick. But we are making a difference. These stores were just on autopilot for 3 years. We are diving in and making changes in a good way. I don't want to stop without mentioning Wiley's Wings, Tenders, and Fries. We have not built one yet. This was Ray's experiment. WTF is cooking along. It's doing about the same sales as an average rapid fire hothead. It's almost all through the drive-through, but we're cautiously looking at new locations. We could consider co-developing Wiley's Wings, Tenders, and Fries along with hotheads and rapid fires in our markets and that I-80, I-90 corridor. But right now, the cost of chicken is literally double what it was when they created that restaurant. And the cost of overtime staffing is through the roof because we're still struggling to get enough employees. Now, having said that, it was amazing how after those unemployment checks ended, people started walking through the doors and applying. We're still running aggressive ads with hiring bonuses, $1,000 signing bonus after 90 days, right? This is a real battle for employees, but we are successfully hiring. Our Northeast and Northwest Ohio groups each hired nearly a dozen people in the last 10 days. I mean, that's like amazing. They hired probably 6 people in the prior 10 days. So it's snowballing now. We think by the end of the month, our crews will be stabilized. I honestly believe it'd be a big musical chairs game where all the signing bonuses go away because everybody had to take a job, did take a job, and then we'll be back to a normal or semi-normal employment situation. Back to that CARES Act relief funding, the money just keeps on coming. The EIDL 2 program was just announced a couple of weeks ago. Turns out we qualified for a windfall of funding. The employee retention tax credit has been extended into 2021. What it means to us, and this is real dollars, folks, these first 4 columns don't look so big with this big column on the end, but we have received $1.17 million in cash from the federal government. Some of it was grants actually funneled through the state of Ohio. We got Paycheck Protection Program 1, Paycheck Protection Program 2. Those fundings, plus the EIDL loans that we received, which were the economic injury disaster loans designed to offset our cost of PPE, supply chain disruption, overtime costs for employees, basically outfitting the stores, taking out half the tables, putting in all the plastic. I mean, we've gone full circle now. We've taken almost all of that stuff back out. Knock on wood, hopefully COVID ends. But literally, we received $1.17 million across our 4 restaurants and our Tasty Equity Enterprise. And that's creating reserve for us so that we'll be able to build aggressively. I have been on calls each week for the last 3 weeks with the case managers at SBA FEMA, and we have been pre-approved for another $1.2 million under the EIDL Loan 2 program. Why? Because we're following the rules. We're doing what the government asks. We're retaining our employees. We're reporting properly. We're audited, and being associated with a public company is giving them confidence. It's not fraud, and we're doing what we're supposed to do. So we literally have an opportunity over the next 2 weeks to put another $1.2 million into the bank. That will create a keel so that as we go to accelerate our 3-year plan, I'll skip to the bottom of this slide. I have one personal friend and a dear friend of a personal friend who are high net worth private investors who, like me, have a consulting background in a very volatile industry. Mine happens to be in the mortgage industry. They happen to be in other things. And in both cases, they have had windfalls of good things happen to them financially. And so they reached out to me and said, Chris, how's the public offering going? How fast can you deploy $500,000? My commitment back to them was, we're raising money from our public investors, those of you on the call, to try to get to our $1 million goal this year and ultimately our $5 million goal by the end of next year. But for every dollar I raise and put up, let's say a down payment is $100,000. Now we only have to put up $50,000 because those two guys will put up the other 50. That means we can build more stores faster. That is backed up by all of this reserve money, which created by the CARES Act. So it's creating a massive cash reserve. That's giving our bankers confidence, and it's increasing our matching fund commitments. Elena, who is involved in private equity and other capital raising, has friends asking how they can participate. I have a friend who's an NBA related, basketball coach, who's saying, Chris, I've got a bunch of players who want to deploy money. How can we participate? And they're from the Canton, Ohio area. So the point is, we are about to do a tech platform conversion. Talk about that in a minute. But our goal, and part of the reason to do the conversion, is to hit that $1 million fundraising goal in what's left of 2021. And that will fund 10 down payments. Again, as I noted on the prior slide, we only have to put up 50, and our joint venture partners will put up 50. That spreads our risk, allows us to build more restaurants faster with more operators. And then each new restaurant should generate in the neighborhood of $100,000 a year in cash flow. Those 10 restaurants we build could generate $1 million a year. That becomes a self-funding business. That's why we only need to raise $5 million. We don't keep selling stock forever. You guys are the angel investors. You're on the inside track. We'll stop raising capital after we hit that number and after we have those 10 stores producing cash. So this is not a new model. You've seen me present this a few times. My family's been in the business a long time. I'm I'm in the second generation. My son was the third generation, but we have always done essentially what are fast casual brands, from Pizza Hut to Skyline Chili, Hothead Burritos created by my brother Ray, Rapid Fire created by my brother Ray, now Wiley Wings, Tenders, and Fries created by Ray. All of it is about 10 stores create a magical self-perpetual or self-funding perpetual motion machine. So even though we have 11 stores under management, we don't own the equity yet in the new 7. We're working on that, everybody. It's a commitment to get there. But we have the management contract, we have the credibility with the bank, and more importantly, we have the management team at the ready to go build restaurants. And we had to get that team, because Chris Wiley can't fly around and build all the restaurants. We needed that team. And now we have, as I said, Eddie, Jackie, and Brandon as full-time supervisors in the field, run around in their vehicles, and Morrow as VP of operations, and they're chomping at the bit to build restaurants. So we're data-driven. We're not messing around. We're not sticking our thumb in the air and saying, do you like the market? We do statistical analysis of each market. We have about 10 markets that are on our short list. When we get to a short list market where it has 20,000 people who live there during the day and 20,000 people who sleep there at night, or maybe I say work during the day and sleep at night, it hits our income profile, not too wealthy. We really like middle, blue collar, white collar, working class. Those are people who eat fast casual, right? Rich people want waitresses. So then we go buy the data. Literally, we buy the report that tells us what is the sales at Applebee's and Arby's and Carl's Jr. and Buffalo Wild Wings. We know how our restaurants perform stacked up against those competitors. So again, it's a very deliberate effort in the I-80, I-90 corridor. I go pick locations as fast as we can get them on a short list, and we'll focus on market density opportunity. I use this old slide because Ray was a Subway guy in Dayton. There's more than 30 Subways in Dayton. Dayton only has 1 million people. There's 27 Hotheads. There's more than 10 Rapid Fires. we can go into Toledo and do half that many of 3 stores each. I mean, we could do a bunch of hotheads, a bunch of rapid fires, and a bunch of Wiley wings, tenders, and fries. We can do the same thing in Detroit. We can do the same thing in Cleveland. Even in the Youngstown market, where there's arguably 5 stores, there's room for another 5 stores. And that's if we don't switch over to the other brand and put in a rapid fire or a Wiley's wings, tenders, and fries. This is about density and selecting our markets, focus on the markets that are in our driving pattern. So we're not flying around on airplanes, pick the best locations. In some cases, put a rapid fire and a hothead in the same shopping center. They don't hurt each other, they help each other. So I want to thank everybody who's on the call. We are over 2,100 investors. I just got our latest settlement this morning. I need to approve it momentarily. We have investors in 49 states and 3 countries. I don't know why week after week after week, there's one state we don't have any investors from. Maybe it's because we're not allowed to take investments from that state. I don't know what the deal is. But thank you to all of you. We've had some very substantial $5,000 investor commitments in recent weeks. Thank you for believing in us. We believe in us. We are putting it all on the line. It would be an understatement to say that I and Pete have bet the farm, because we have bet the farm. I personally guarantee leases on all 11 of those restaurants. I personally guarantee the loans. I guarantee the car loans. It's Pete's money and my money and that money of a couple private investors that made that big deal possible. And we look forward to bringing it home so that our Tasty Equity investors can have some participation in it. With that, I want to wrap up with a couple quick thoughts. We are about to finish finally, after 6 months, the conversion to the new tech platform. It'll streamline investing. So for our almost 10% of our investors add more money each month, you'll be able to just add more shares rather than going through the application process all over again. Be vastly streamlined. It's a much better system. The security is both systems were secure, but the old system that you guys have all applied through is run by a decade-old company that has fallen way out of compliance with Facebook and Google and Apple and Android. And as a result, 3/4 of all the applications that come in, the birth dates, the social security numbers, the credit cards have all been erased from the application. Please don't be offended when you get emails from Ned, or from, I started to say Betsy, but from Ned or from Tess or from Audrey asking you to update your information. The issue is the old system simply loses the data when it comes over from your phone. And it's all about the security that's going on Apple and Android. We would cross our fingers. We hope to convert to the new system this week. That new system is a boutique vendor. We are their pilot client. I've built my consulting industry or business over the years being a pilot client type guy. So we're helping a boutique company get across the line. They just had another offering go live using exactly the same technology. And that offering raised a couple $1 million with negligible fallout on payments, just the normal declines for people over their limits. So also, you can currently only use Visa and MasterCard. As soon as we flip the switch early next week, you'll be able to invest using American Express and earn all those major points you can get there. Discover, earning points with Discover. Our attorneys have asked us to hold off on the Bitcoin part. So we're going to make the transition, adding American Express and Discover right away. Then we'll go back in a follow-up appeal to SEC to let us please proceed with Bitcoin. We are not the first to do it. It's just it creates a bunch of red flags. With that, I'd like to wrap up with, in loving memory of Betsy Dance. If you guys have communicated with Ned or been on the phone with Ned, Betsy wasn't much fun for phone calls, but Ned is the guy you talk to on the phone. When you try to reach me, he's the man. And he was a securities guy a lot of his life. This is just really great for him. He is my best friend. Well, Betsy Dance was his cousin, and Betsy joined us just in time for our very first press release. At the direction and coordination with Redtail Media, our advertising agency. She helped manage our social media, the communication, the postings and publishings and commentary. So many of you have interacted with Betsy. Betsy kept it a secret. None of us knew that she was fighting cancer for the last year. She was literally riddled with it. About a month ago, she called Ned and said, "Hey, I just had a stroke." By the time Ned got to the hospital down in Virginia, the doctor said, "Hey, we're going to palliative care." Betsy's got 1 or 2 days left. And so we said our goodbyes. It's been very tearful. We love Betsy, and she was great for us. And I hope you guys get a sense of it was a loss for us, but we hope she's in a better place. And if you notice a little difficulty, it's a difficulty reaching Ned a couple times. That was a month of activity around Betsy's passing. And anyway, it's a little bit emotional, but thanks everybody for joining us. Please follow us on social media. Follow us everywhere on Tasty Equity. When you see the ads, if you like them or you share them in the stories, that's how we grow this business. Now, with that, I'm available. I've gone way over time. We have about 20 minutes left. Elena, are you able to see the chats now? Can you?
Yeah. So Chris, there was just two. It was really geographic, and I know we focused a lot on, which I think is great, from going from Dayton in Ohio, and we're going the 80-90 corridor. There were two different questions. One was, there's a hothead burrito in Parkersburg, West Virginia.
Yep.
They were wondering if it was Tasty Equity. I said I didn't think it was. I wanted you to confirm. And then another investor was asking about Florida.
Yeah, that's an independent franchisee. I think that's under Ed Newsom, but it might not be Ed. He happens to be the area developer over there.
Just wanted to confirm that with you.
Yep, they're, think of them as the broader family, but it's not a store that we own or invest in.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to confirm while we were all there on the phone.
And I believe I've talked with Ed in the past, and if you are in that market, we can confirm with them that they'll accept the rewards, the gift cards, the things that are part of our when you receive your package as an investor. All of our corporate stores, so about 30 stores all together, honor our Tasty Equity 5%, 10% discount cards, the free entree cards, the free buy one get one frees that you get as a collection when you join the program. So happy to double check that if you are nearby a location, and I know all the owners. I'll call the owners up and ask them if they'll play along nicely.
Okay, perfect. And then again, you are looking at Florida. We're not there yet, but you're looking at it, right?
Yes, we've looked at Florida very aggressively. We have a team. There's an area developer team that is a licensee of both Rapid Fire and Hothead. They have identified multiple locations. I believe they have a couple hotheads in the. I can't remember if it's Orlando or farther south, like Fort Lauderdale. They are capitalized reasonably well, but it was not their goal to operate stores. They really just wanted to sell franchises. We have offered to JV with them, but we have not, as of yet, we didn't have any candidates show up who were willing to have us be a financial business partner. So for stores where we're going to go build it and we lead it and it's our money, and then we promote a sweat equity manager or maybe a underqualified franchisee candidate who doesn't have enough money. By the way, Elena and I spent over a year of our life helping recruit area developers and franchisees for both brands. And one thing we learned is that 80% of the people who apply do not have enough cash reserve to get through the lending process, to get through the leasing process and build a store. They may have 100,000, they may have 80,000. They've saved money, they're responsible. That's who we want to partner with. I want to partner with that guy and say, listen, I'll fund half the restaurant, you fund half of it. Or I'll bring in my private equity partners and they'll fund half, I fund half, and you just work there and then earn back in your equity. We are all about empowering the dreamer, potential, hardworking franchisees with a track record. And that bounty, so to speak, has been out to all the area developers. There's 15 or more of them across the country. But frankly, COVID put a damper on it. Franchisees looking for locations really slowed down. We did, as a system, they did have, about 6 or 8 or 10 stores open during 2019 and as many open during 2020. But most of those had been planned. Leases were already signed. That was before the disaster hit. But we're all revving back up now. And
that's perfect. I think that's just what people wanted to know. And like I said, I think it's really a huge win, what you've done in Ohio, or again, across the 80-90 bridge. There's one more. Yes, another person said that they invested again, which obviously we're happy. Thank you for investing again. And he thought it would be added to his first investment. If he wants to invest more, does he I'm not sure exactly what he means, but he's saying, will I go through the same thing? I'm guessing he means.
So the platform changed, the software company that enables the process.
Exactly.
Dealer, it'll still be Tess in the Dalmore group, but the technical platform where you do it, once we change, which hopefully will be in the next 10 days, it's been 6 months of delays, but we're right down to the wire. It will have a feature where you can log into your account and request additional shares. They will validate your information, but you don't have to go back on your phone and fill out the investment form and go through all the disclosures all over again.
Right.
So much smoother in about a week. And also for anybody who has done multiple investments, they are treated as separate individual transactions. But if you watch for those emails that come from the Core Connects platform, that's the name of our platform. And I think I have a picture. Yeah. So on our site, you'll see my account, depending on which version of the site you log into. There's a login that takes you into a technology platform called Core Connects. And that's where your shares are tracked. They're the custodian, and the SEC requires we have that third-party custodian. So we have had cases where people bought the shares using different email addresses, or like my name, I go by Chris Wiley, but my name is Byron Christopher Wiley. So if I were to buy shares as Byron Wiley and buy them as Chris Wiley, the system will not assume it's the same person. You have to actively say, that's both me, merge my account. So they're super helpful. They prefer to work through email at Core Connects. But again, I encourage anybody who's a shareholder to log into their Core Connects account. If you have any question, you can always call Ned as you get the emails that come out every month, like the ones that invited you to this event. The phone number on there will get you to Ned Dibble. Again, Ned's my best friend. He's an absolute rock star. He loves doing this and has great passion for the business. And in case you think he's just a sales guy, he's not. He spent 2 years on his feet with his sons, actually opening our Lima restaurant and operating our Bowling Green restaurant. And that is really, really hard work. So he's paid his dues. He knows what he's talking about.
And then, Chris, just to reiterate, just as we close up, is about again, how are you going to distribute? Is it different this time, or will it be an email to everyone that participated? The slides, because a lot of people are asking for the slides. I just want to reiterate that.
If you're interested in the slides, so we have not made it a practice to email out the slides. We do make it a practice to email out the recording. So I'm going to make a note. If I'm absolutely happy to share. We call it a handout version of the slides. We used to send out handouts regularly. We have not done that because we were sending the recording. So I will look into two things: the slide recording and the handout version of the slides. Our production team does do some cleanup from all that dead time at the very beginning and some of our chits at the end. So that, in case there's anything personal, like if we're talking to somebody by name, that gets edited out. So it'll take probably till next Tuesday, but if everybody will get a link to the recording, and
so we'll clean up the recording and then we'll email it out to everyone, basically.
Yeah, and if I would say if you're specifically interested in the slides, you can simply reply to the invitation, which I believe will go to either Elena or Ned, and just say, hey, please send me a copy of the handout slides. Be happy to share them, because these are for you guys. These are our story. There's everything in here has been vetted with our securities attorney. I can't say anything I can't say. These are facts. I want you to hold me to these facts. I work for you. You're the investor. So
yeah, I definitely can speak to that. We've been very careful. There's another person, and again, I'm not going to name names because but they want to know how they can own, they're a chef, and they want to know how they can own a certified chef, an accountant, and they want to get in the business. So what I'm just going to say just publicly on this, and then I'm going to reply back on here, which is reach out to me and Ned, and we'll get a call. We just need to do a call.
Larry, let's clarify it this way. As I described earlier, we created our business because 80% of the applicants to become franchisees didn't have enough money. And we had just helped my son Ross, who didn't have any money, but he had, was willing to work hard, and he qualified for a special VA version of the SBA loan. And, we set up a 4-store program. He's, by the way, no longer in the business. We pay people to do that, and he's moved on to become a minister. He just actually became a youth minister in a megachurch here in Redmond, Washington, which was his life stream. So our goal with our co-funding deals with franchisees is to help them realize their dreams. And so think of the 3 tiers of how you can invest. You can invest with us, not like that gentleman asked, like our normal investor at $100 or $1,000 or $5,000, whatever suits your investment risk profile. That's a Class B investment. It's really a 3-year term. Our goal is within 3 years to get to 30 or more restaurants, to have an investor event with those restaurants where they buy in or buy out or somehow recapitalize us so that you guys get your money off the table, hopefully with some profit. That's the goal. Then there's a second type of person who says, I just want to finance a restaurant. I want to be a franchisee, like the gentleman you mentioned who said he's a cook and he's an accountant, right? Well, he may say,
well, chef. I sound say cook, a chef.
Right? He says, well, I've got 100,000 saved and I want to build a restaurant, but I don't want to do it all by myself. Okay, great. We'll be your 50-50 partner. You become the franchisee. You don't buy Class B shares. You put up the money. We use the Class B investor money to match your money, right? Mm-hmm. We use the money raised through the offering to match the down payment that operator has. And then he becomes the operator, but we have a very strict management contract where we control, it's kind of like the Twilight Zone. We control the horizontal and the vertical and the volume and everything else. We are the back office. We control the money, the accounting, the audits, compliance, unemployment. I can't tell you how much stuff there is that has absolutely nothing to do with serving food, right?
Exactly.
So we try to, yep. So, and then last but not least, there is the ability for people who say, like my friend up in Cleveland, he wants to invest. He doesn't want any phone calls. He doesn't want to be on the board. He never wants to go to the restaurant other than to maybe drive by and say, I invested in that. And that's for a accredited private institutional investor, private equity investor who is pure cash. They're at a risk profile where they can lose the money and it doesn't hurt them. And they also are matching funds that we match up with the money raised through the public offering.
Absolutely. And then the last thing, just to clarify for investors, because I noticed, I actually said, I remembered him. One of the guys on here has asked questions before about the digital menus and upgrading the hi-hat burritos. We are still doing that. I just wanted to clarify for any questions out there that we are going through methodically through our stores and upgrading the digital menus.
We just upgraded. We went to all digital menus in our stores in Holland and Toledo. The Cleveland restaurants, interestingly enough, or the Cleveland Youngstown restaurants, they were part of let's call it a false start by the there was a design company engaged by partners who are now no longer part of the hothead business, who had a philosophy of spending money like drunken sailors and hiring consultants. This was back in when Ray was not the CEO at the time. They had appointed a different CEO. It was a very contentious time. But bottom line is they did a very short-sighted version of digital menus. It is sad to say that the 7 restaurants we acquired all had digital TV menus. The problem was they were all about 6 years old. The technology didn't work. They didn't have the controllers back then. It was such a frustrating process that they literally, about 9 months ago, pulled all of them out and basically gave them away.
Okay.
So we will look at going to digital menus again. I am a giant fan of digital menu because you get the beautiful art and people can point and look. Although my brother Pete would argue that the art that's displayed on the digital menu is identical to what's on our print menus today. So we're in a happy medium, but I do believe we're going to continue to embrace the move to digital. We use digital technologies for scheduling. You have apps for this and apps for inventory and shift swapping, and now people can use their thumbs to get paid on Tuesday, even though payroll's on Friday. We are trying to do everything and anything that the big guys are doing. I mean, if Domino's is doing it, we're not in the delivery business, but the cool digital stuff they're doing, we're doing. If we're evaluating it. If Chipotle's doing it, we're all over it.
Perfect. I think that was the answer. I think I just wanted to clarify, since he had the question and I recognize his name from a previous webinar. I just want to be sure that we get that message out of what our goals are. So, okay, that's perfect.
Hey, thanks for everybody for riding through it and being patient in the first few minutes of each event. Again, there will be an automated email that'll get the recordings out to everybody who registered. There was hundreds of people who registered. I think we had 50, 60 people who actually attended, and that's kind of normal. About 25% actually come. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for your confidence. Big announcements to come over the next 2 weeks. We have our SEC first half financial filing here next week. So that's been a big part of it. It's not audited, but it's the first half compared with last year. So that filing will get done. Then we'll hopefully announce the transition to the new technology platform. And we look for that to solve the data fallout problem. And we should start raising capital just with our same investors, the same level of activity. We should be raising enough money every other month to build a restaurant. And we will start announcing that as it's happening and announcing the locations as we pick them. And hopefully we'll get back to in-restaurant VIP parties before the end of the year.
That would be great. Hopefully we can get there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Have a great day.